All right, well, we're back for the discussion of Insurgent, and if you saw our review, we were fairly mixed on it. We thought the third act was pretty good, thought the first two acts weren't so great. We were concerned that people that read the books may be a little upset at some of the changes, because it doesn't quite follow what the book does. For me personally, talking about spoiler stuff, so the things that bothered me were the way that characters just sort of disappeared in the first act. First, Peter disappeared under sort of weird circumstances. You're like, all right, well, that character's gone. And then even worse was Caleb, where they're just walking and there's just this one scene where he's like, yeah, I'm leaving. They're like, all right, well, see ya. Like, they don't fight to keep him.
It's almost like they were going to the grocery store and he decided to go to somewhere else. They're like, okay, we'll catch you later.
I'm going to go to the convenience store instead. All right, well, have a good one. We'll catch you back at Mom's. Like, it was a very strange, that scene was very strange. And you know, the way that they develop Trish's character and Forrest's character, I don't see them just saying,
okay,
see you later.
I feel like what happened was the writers didn't have a good way to handle that because they hadn't really brought in, like, they didn't really characterize him a lot. Because in the books, he was he's a very torn character.
Yeah.
Like, throughout most of the first and second book, like, he doesn't know what he wants or which way he wants to go.
Well, the movies
didn't do that as much.
They give him that one scene where he hits the guy with the pole on the train.
And then immediately afterwards, he can't do it.
And then he gives up and won't help Trish. And that's sort of like the one thread that the movie gives you for him to say, I'm not cut out for this, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Or I'm going back to Erudite or whatever he says. Now, you know, why, like, for example, evil Kate Winslet is evil. Why, when he goes back, she doesn't, like, torture him until Trish goes out there? Like, those sorts of things are like...
Well, that's part of the nonsensical stuff where, like, you know, she just welcomes him into the inner circle. The other guy, she welcomes him into the inner circle, even though he's a guard. Apparently, she lets him operate the security computer stuff, too. And it's just so bizarre.
Well, but he you know, betrayed Trish.
Yeah.
After helping her.
So he's got all access pass.
So, yeah, he's totally out there, and, you know, he's ambitious and states that he's evil. So, you know, I'm evil. You have to believe that I'm evil.
Not so much as he's evil, just very opportunistic.
Yes. And then the other thing that was annoying to me, not to completely monopolize the discussion, you guys can go from here, but the tests and trials thing, that seemed to take forever to get to, and then by the time it was started and they explained what it was and what was going to happen, I was like, I get it. Can we be done with this? Can this be over? Oh, God, how much more of the movie is this going to be? And then she was like, bam, 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 4 of them. And then it was like, oh, and now we're going to wait.
I think what bothered me about those was, well, I feel like they just wanted to use an excuse to use some really crazy CGI in the movie. So let's do some simulations.
Yep.
But a big part of the first movie was establishing how Divergents are basically immune to simulations. And they didn't bring that in at all in this one. So it was kind of weird. Like, based on what happened in the first movie, she should have immediately realized she was in a simulation in all those.
Or the truth
and
serum,
found a
too.
crazy way to...
Thing.
Yeah, I feel like she could have, like she did in the first movie, found a crazy divergent way to bust out of those simulations, but instead she was in them like she was in them. So it felt weird that they just threw all that out the window. Granted, it was really cool to watch. There was some really cool simulation CGI, so it was fun to watch.
Well, and they kind of sprung her out of that room, only for her to willingly go back in again and do it. That was kind of a waste of time.
Yeah, she's a teenage girl.
Oh, well, there we go.
Yeah, and there are some weird things from a ratings perspective, like that they were trying to keep it PG-13 as much as they could.
But he did say fuck at the end once under his breath. Did he really say it?
Yeah, he really said it.
Okay.
They get 2 now in PG-13s, but they only used 1.
Well then.
They have to be spaced pretty far apart, but they can do 2.
Nice.
But this movie, it's bloodless. Like,
see, and I just thought it was so violent, like. And especially
it's super violent.
Oh, it's very violent, yeah, but not gory.
There's no blood ever.
Well,
until
the guide had
for the guy's nose.
Yeah, the guard guy. And
up against the glass.
But then that was kind of a symbolism thing, wasn't it?
he got to bleed. He had blood, and she and the people that were like dying in the sim had like the blood as like an indication that they were suffering.
Okay.
But it was never used like when people got shot in the head. Like
It was off screen.
they would be laying there like
Yeah.
like or when the girl committed suicide.
Yeah.
No blood.
That's true. That the violence really bothered me. Just again coming from the book, and I'm the one that it drives me crazy when. Well, I just feel like that's such a huge break from the books. Like this movie just totally, I feel like, went way off.
I feel like the books were pretty violent.
But no. This is what bothered me is that after Triss kills Will in the book, like most of the book is about how she is not violent.
Oh, sure.
That she can't pick up a gun, she can't shoot it. Even when people are threatening her life, she's like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Well,
And there was no indication of that whatsoever.
Well, not only that, and I can see why they wouldn't do it for a movie and just from a leading actress standpoint. From about the last quarter of the first book until maybe halfway through the third book, she has a broken arm. And so she's very much like she's almost a little helpless through large chunks of the series because
Which
of like a
fly.
major injury. Yeah, which would have on screen. It's not exciting to watch at all.
Right, and you also have the problem. That's part of the thing with adaptations is that works great in a book, like that inner conflict and her, you know, hearing what's in her head works a lot better than having like. A 30-minute segment of the movie where she's like, I can't shoot anybody. And she comes across looking weak and four is like dragging her along or whatever, however it plays out. The other thing one of the things that struck me about this, and I don't know how much else is different from the book and all of that. Something hit me when they were on the train and, Caleb killed the guy with the pole and then couldn't fight anymore or whatever. That they basically did if this movie or if this was written 10 years ago, it's basically a gender swap of every other story like that.
Oh, sure.
You've got the girl is the fighter warrior or whatever, and the brother is the one that needs protecting and is kind of
oh, I'm sure that was
no good in a fight, but is a very good-hearted is a character you care about. He's not a wimp, he's just a he is the person that he is, sort of thing. It's just interesting. It's like a gender reversal for what that would typically be in a very basic story. So what else from the book, anything else stick out?
Well, something that I thought would have been interesting to see is, and I think they talk about this a lot in the third book, and it's been a while since I've read them, so you'll have to maybe tell me if I'm wrong.
It's been a while.
But that Amity, the reason that they're all so happy is that they have drugs that they are given every day. Do you not remember this?
That sounds
That's
like
probably true.
Yeah.
I get those mixed up.
And that, there was that, and then the truth serum, and then there was each faction had its
Their
own
own different
serum
That's
to
true.
make them
Part of
that.
their faction, yeah.
And I think
all of that
the
makes...
third book talks about that. I
That
think
could
that's
be-
part of a big plot point.
Well, that's a
in
big part of
third
the
book.
series is the serums, and they haven't made those as important in the movies.
That's probably something that they're going to find out about the experiment, which again lends itself more
To the third book, or the third movie.
to a third film, where
Do a bit of exposition dump in there.
yeah, you have two movies where you just think that she's physiologically different than the rest of them, but instead the divergent system is artificially created. People test into their faction, and then they're forced through science. They're forced through these serums or whatever to be whatever they are, because whatever the hippie faction, they're the hippie faction, and they're getting THQ serum,
They always feel good.
or THC serum.
I
not
think
THQ.
I think Now that I think about it, I think it was more that every faction has a serum they use for like induction. Like the Dauntless had their sim serum to take them through crazy stuff. Candor obviously had their truth serum to pass their final test, and I think maybe it was more about that, not necessarily like
it's not like the Giver.
It's not like it's a daily dose for people to fit in or something.
Because that's the thing in the Givers, like they all take the seeing black and white potion or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think it's to that extent. No,
so
I don't think
the Giver, this film, Maze Runner, like all have a common theme of there's some kind of wall and there's some mystery beyond, and it's apocalyptic.
Which that's another funny thing, and like. And I kind of prefer the way they do it in the movie as opposed to the book, because in the book it was always kind of weird. They make a big deal about the wall, but in the book, Amity's technically outside the wall. That's where they farm. They didn't explicitly mention it in the movie, but it looked like Amity was supposed to be outside the wall. They just never pointed it out. And it always felt weird in the books, like, oh, they're outside the wall. Why did?
Yeah, that stuff's so much easier to simplify in a movie, so that
just keep them in the wall. That's fine.
You're not like, well, if they're already outside the wall, like all these other questions. But I don't understand why evil Kate Winslet kept Caleb alive. I don't get it, and I'm just never going to learn that character's name. She's just always going to be evil Kate Winslet. And evil Naomi Watts, like you could tell she was evil, but
she just wants power.
Yeah,
basically.
What do people with power want?
More power.
On the Toolman Taylor note, that's been our discussion. If you like the way we do these videos, please like the video, subscribe, share it with your friends. Check out all the written and video reviews at dalemaxfield.com. Thanks for watching.